So, what made me want to start seeking therapy for better health was just the fact that I don't have anybody to talk to. I can't confide in my friends anymore because one, I don't have that many as it is, and two, I just whenever I would try to talk about my problems with other people, things would always come back at me very badly. Like either people aren't supportive, people are like, "Oh, well, shouldn't you be over that by now?" Or people would be like, "Oh, well, that's not nearly a problem as like, oh, at least you're not starving. Oh, at least you have a job. Oh, I mean, your problems aren't that real. So, oh, just be happy. Just be positive, you know? That doesn't work. And I did find, well, it just there was a point um just a couple months ago. There was a couple of nights where I would be lying in my bed and I just found myself thinking about how unhappy I am in my life and how unsatisfied I am with, like the pandemic basically put a pause on my career and how nobody's hiring me for what I actually studied for. This prospect of probably having to go to grad school and that fear of not being able to afford it, or I won't be able to get into the school I want. And just like this overwhelming sense of dread of, I don't know what I want to do. I have nobody to talk to. And then it spirals even further into what would it be like if I was dead right now? Not so much as, oh, if I wanted to kill myself, how I would do it, but rather, if I was dead right now, how would my mom feel? How would my dad feel? How would my brother feel? How would my friends find out? How would work find out? And would they give a shit about me? How would the funeral look like? Or would they respect my wishes and cremate me? Or, just things like that. Or would I be doing myself a favor? And it was at that point where I'm like, okay, I've had enough. I really need to talk to somebody. And so I downloaded the app of BetterHelp. And I was going through the questions, and it got to the point of billing summary. And of course, all those YouTubers, they offer 10% off your first month. And with all the problems that I listed that I would need, I can tell you how much it actually was because I feel like a lot of people that talk about these things, they're not very that open about the billing portion of it, but I want to be transparent about it. So even though my first month I got 10% off, I recently got charged again for the next month, which that's the bad part. That was the bad part. Nobody warned me about this. They made me pay up front for the first month and like for every month after that. So you're going to have to pay up front, which I wasn't very comfortable with, but that was just how they had me do it as it is. So either way, now that I'm off of that, all the YouTube promotion and stuff, it's $65 a week for 4 weeks, all paid in one. So I owe $234 for the next month. At least the first month it was a little bit cheaper. It was like 10% off of that. It still sucks, but I mean, I have at least a decent paying job. I'm like, okay, let's just try it. Let's just figure it out. I really didn't like that they charged me upfront 200 $200, but as of right now, I would say that it's worth it. So after listing all of the problems that I wanted to address with a therapist, I got matched with one person which I thought I was vibing with for a while, but in reality, I don't think I really knew how to start therapy because I think the first time around, I kind of just would throw all of my problems at her and just kind of hope that she would give me advice for that. But that's not necessarily what therapy is about. I see that therapy, especially the first couple of sessions, is you address like one problem at a time. You don't give them all the information at once. You learn how they're going to respond to you. They learn their kind of approach to therapy. They kind of like just see how they talk with you, see how they like interact. And the first person that I had, they I kind of felt like she was judging me. Like after about the third session, I could sense whenever she was listening to me or whenever like she would like respond to me after I would say all these things, she would go, "Uh-huh. Yeah. Well, hmm." And like that might have just been her way of like thinking about what to say to me, but the more like just looking at her face during the video calls, it was like she thinks I'm a freak, right? I don't feel comfortable talking to her anymore. And that's how like don't feel bad. Don't feel bad for wanting to find another therapist because you never have to talk with them again. You never got to talk with them again. It's okay. You don't got to worry about it. Plus like they sorry, they understand. They understand. And it's just remembering that kind of thinking. Where like yes, in this instance you're paying a lot of money for them to help you. You cannot be afraid to be honest. And they are going to trust that you know how to help yourself, but or like you know how to make the right decisions for yourself. But if you can't, then they're going to help you with that. But they're not going to make these big life-changing decisions for you. And yeah, that one therapist was one of those kind where she would just give me a piece of like a piece of homework or like a journal entry. Like she wanted me every night to write about a bad thing that happened and how I handled it in that day. And because I'm a manager at a store, it's very much like that shit happens every day. I do not want to focus on that. And she wanted me to focus on that and like just analyze how I would handle it. And I just found that that was just making me even more depressing. And even after I expressed that to her, she didn't want me to change anything. She didn't really like focus on what I wanted to focus on, you know? So I found somebody else. And I like her a lot more because this is how I knew that I liked her. I think it was around like the second or third session where I was explaining to her how most of the people that I tried to talk to about my problems with, they're kind of like, "Oh, you have to keep the upside up. Whenever a bad thing happens, oh, when life gives you lemons, oh, you have to turn it into a positive thing." And that would stress me out even more because I would overthink. I would think like, "Okay, I'm not thinking this right. I'm not thinking positively enough. This is not right. I'm not doing this right." And it would just I would ruminate and I would spiral and it just make me even more depressed than I actually am. And how this therapist responded was, "Well, that's dumb." That's dumb. Kaylee, why would they make you try to turn something into a positive? Like, you lost that show. You lost your job. Or something bad happened to your car. There's nothing positive about it. How that they're literally asking you to do an impossible task. Why would you want to think why would you want to force yourself to think positively like that? How about rather instead of trying to think of the positives and be on the upside all the time, you try to turn this into a neutral thing. And then she proceeds to give me this sort of advice, which has sort of been helping, but I understand that it's kind of not going to help in some points, but I'm going to tell you guys anyway. So, just if you are someone like me that often gets into the habit of ruminating over bad things constantly every day of your life, that's just the sort of habit that my brain gets into whenever something bad happens to me. This is what she told me. So imagine you're at a park and you're sat next to your favorite tree by a river. You're just sitting on a riverbank and everything is okay. And this is your favorite tree. It's pretty, it's just how you would imagine. But one day, as as things do, as weather happens, a wind comes by and a leaf falls off of your tree. And you see it floating in the river. And you have a couple of options. You could stare at it. You can study it. You can walk along the river as it's floating downstream and ponder over, why did it fall? How did it fall? Like, where is it going to go? Like, what happened? That was a leaf from my tree. Or you could sit and you could watch it float downstream and out of sight and around the corner and accept and understand that things are going to come and go. Seasons will change, leaves will fall, but eventually new leaves will grow back. And just kind of letting life happen and letting things, addressing things in a more neutral state. Instead of a leaf falling off of your tree and totally freaking out, just kind of sitting there and comprehending that there are other people too that just want to sit underneath their favorite tree by a riverbank. And they're struggling to watch the leaves fall and float downstream and out of sight as well. And I know it sounds kind of silly, but it helps. It helps just a little bit. Because whenever bad things happen to us, we have options. We always have options. But we have to understand that we can't change the past. It is what it is. And we could remember it and we could sulk. But what's more important is what we take from those moments. So, what did we learn? And with that, I hope that if you would like to seek therapy and you were thinking about it, please consider doing it. I know that it's expensive, but at least BetterHelp is a bit of a more, affordable, quote unquote, affordable option for people. And yeah, that's how life has been going. So just working on one trauma at a time and learning how to improve my life, learning how to communicate with other people and maintain relationships, even though it's getting even harder as it is, because when I was sick with COVID, I kind of just decided to just totally go off the grid. I really wanted to get off of social media because, not gonna lie, it was kind of pissing me off. And in doing so, that made me forget my best friend's birthday. Yeah, I didn't receive any of those notifications, so I didn't know until 2 days after her birthday had already happened. And, I come to her and I'm like, oh my God, I'm a terrible friend. I'm so sorry. I was sick with COVID. I decided to get off the grid because I was pissed off with social media. I'm so sorry. Can I make it up to you? And she responds with, oh, I was wondering what happened to you. And, I told my therapist this, and she goes, now, Kaylee, you cannot judge somebody's tone simply based off of a text message. And I'm like, yeah, but she sent an emoji. she sent that emoji that's like a like an emoji that was like pondering, with like the hand on the chin going like, huh, I wonder what happened to you. So it's like, I'm just happy that I finally have somebody to talk to about all my problems on a weekly basis, and I can text her if I want, which was good because my last therapist with BetterHelp didn't like that. So, yeah, it's good that I can get like the most out of the money that I give them. So, yes, I really hope that if you seek therapy, you find someone that you can vibe with, you find somebody that helps you, and you find the courage and the money to seek help when you need it. And I know that this was a very, very long ramble. So thank you so much for listening. And now that I'm not coughing anymore, it's time to get back to work. Also, before I go, this is a perfect time to thank my patrons and anybody who has ever donated to me, because you're helping me seek the help that I need. So thank you, thank you, thank you. And I shall see you in the next audio. Bye-bye.